Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Wan Faris Amza. Today we will discuss the story of management accounting, how it rose, how it lost its way, and the lessons it teaches us today. We will follow Johnson and Kaplan's famous 1987 critique, the rise and fall of management accounting. We will cover the opportunities that management accounting once created, the challenges it faced, its strong industrial roots, why it eventually lost relevance, how academics went astray, and finally, how innovation can restore its value. In the early 1900s, management accounting offered huge opportunities. As industries grew rapidly, firms needed accurate cost information to manage large-scale production. Tools like budgeting, cost control, and variance analysis gave managers the insights to run factories efficiently. This created opportunities to reduce waste, allocate resources wisely, and maintain competitive prices. Management accounting was in many ways the secret weapon of industrial success.
Ahmad Zafan will be continue talking about challenge, management accounting roots, and loss of relevance. As we know, opportunity also came with challenges. By the mid-20th century, businesses faces rapid globalization, rising competition, and major technological changes. Factories were expanding cross borders, new markets were opening, and technological innovations were reshaping industries almost overnight. Think about it. New competitors from abroad could suddenly appear, offering cheaper products or faster delivery. Consumer tastes also shifting more quickly than ever before. One year a company could be a market leader, and the next year it could be struggling just to keep up. Managers could no longer survive by simply looking at the past records of costs and productions. They needed forward-looking, strategic insights, tools that could help them predict trends, respond to competitors, and make faster decisions. In other words, management was no longer just about controlling costs, it was about anticipating the future. The challenge was clear. Could management accounting evolve quickly enough to meet these new business realities? Sadly, the answer was often no. The system that worked so well in the stable industrial age was simply not fast or flexible enough for this new world. This gap between what businesses needed and what management accounting delivered only grew wider over time, and that gap will become a serious concern for managers and accountants alike. Secondly, about management accounting roots. To understand why this gap emerged, we need to look back at the roots of management accounting. It was born during the rise of industrial giants such as DuPont and General Motors in the early 20th century, a time when big factories were booming and assembly lines dominated production. Back then, business were focused on mass productions and efficiency. They needed detailed systems to track costs, measure output, and monitor factory performance. Management accounting was a perfect fit. It allows managers to calculate unit costs, identify waste, and make sure the factory runs smoothly. For that era, the system worked brilliantly. However, these very roots designed for stability, efficiency, and scale also become limitations. The old techniques were like precision tools for a factory but not flexible enough for the rapidly changing global marketplace that emerged later. While management accounting excelled at measuring the past, showing exactly what happened and how resources were used, it was not built to anticipate the future. So when business faced uncertainty, competition, and fast-moving change, the traditional system often felt slow, rigid, and unable to keep up. For loss of relevance. By the 1950s and beyond, management accounting began to lose its relevance. Instead of adapting to the realities of globalization, new markets, and rapid technological changes, it became increasingly focused on external financial reporting. This shift meant that management accounting systems were producing information mainly for shareholders, regulators, and annual financial statements, not for the managers who actually needed real-time, actionable data to guide business decisions. The reports being generated were often backward-looking. They told managers what had happened weeks or even months ago, instead of giving insights that what might happen tomorrow. Imagine a manager in 1960s trying to compete with overseas firms. By the time the financial reports finally arrived, the opportunity to make quick decisions had already passed. This loss of relevance created frustration inside companies. What was once seen as a powerful tool for innovation and efficiency was now seen as low, outdated, and disconnected from strategy. Instead of helping managers stay competitive, management accounting risked becoming little more than a compliance exercise. The danger was clear. Unless the discipline reinvented itself, it would be left behind in rapidly changing business world. And this frustration was the spark that eventually gave rise to new ideas, new methods, and the modern approaches to management accounting that we see today.
One of Johnson and Kaplan's strongest criticisms was directed at the academic world. They argued that accounting researchers themselves had gone astray. Originally, accounting research was meant to improve practice, to help managers make better, more informed decisions. But by the mid-20th century, the focus of most academic studies shifted. Instead of being practical and innovative, research became more about technical compliance and financial reporting rules. Scholars focus on how accounting numbers should be presented to shareholders and regulators, not on how managers could actually use those numbers to run a business. This created a serious gap. While industries were changing rapidly with globalization, automation, and intense competition, accounting academics often stayed in their own bubble. They developed theories and models that were elegant on paper but rarely used for managers in the real world. In other words, academia became disconnected from practice. Managers needed insights into quality control, long-term strategy, and competitive advantage. But management accounting, textbooks, and research were still teaching old methods like simple cost, allocation, and variance analysis, as if nothing in business had changed. Johnson and Kaplan saw this as a major reason why management accounting lost its relevance. When academics are not driving innovation, practice stagnates, and that's exactly what happened. Johnson and Kaplan also used a very memorable metaphor: accounting for the caravan. What did they mean by this? Think of a caravan moving across the desert. It keeps moving forward, facing a new terrain and challenges. But the accounting system, instead of guiding the caravan's journey, only measures where it has already been. It tells us yesterday's costs, last month's profits, last year's performance, but it says nothing about where the caravan should go next. This is how they describe the problem with management accounting. It became backward-looking. Reports arrived too late to be useful. By the time managers saw the numbers, decisions had already been made. Opportunities had been missed, and competitors had moved ahead. For example, a company in the 1970s might have relied heavily on monthly variance reports to track production efficiency, but by the time the report reached managers, the production problems had already cost the company money, or market trends had already shifted. The caravan had moved on, but accounting was still stuck describing yesterday's journey. The big issue here is that management accounting failed to help managers navigate uncertainty and innovation. In a rapidly changing world, managers need predictive insights, scenario planning, and real-time performance measures. Instead, they were handed static historical data. This metaphor captures the essence of Johnson and Kaplan's critique. When accounting only looks backward, it cannot guide the future. And if managers rely only on backward-looking information, the organization risks falling behind in fast-moving competitive landscape.
However, the story doesn't end there. New approaches have tried to bring management accounting back to relevance. Methods like activity-based costing, the balanced scorecard, and strategic management accounting aim to provide forward-looking insights. These innovations remind us that management accounting can still be a powerful tool, but only if it evolves with business needs. In conclusion, the rise and fall of management accounting shows us that even the most useful systems can become obsolete if they fail to adapt. The key lesson that management accounting should never stand still. It must always innovate, respond to challenges, and support managers in creating long-term value. As Johnson and Kaplan remind us, accounting is not just about recording the past, it's about guiding the future.